Welcome to the party, Booch. You're just in time. Hopefully, I have the crowd behind me silenced. They're here for the coronation. If you're not familiar, we have a new prediction champion here in Wenz world. So good to be amongst my people behind me. Of course, sporting the red, white, and blue of Wenz world, the last free nation on God's green earth. Damascus Dez is joining us here as well. Exciting times. Dez, I hope that I try to drown out the sound behind me as much as I can. There's so much happening right now, but most importantly, I'm here. I mean, am I right or am I right? Ladies and gentlemen, I don't want to go too overboard because if Bucci had won this again, he'd be doing his whole saga dance, the whole puppet show. But I'm a man of the people, as you can see behind me. So I'd like to move forward and discuss the results and how all this happened to me. So let's start from the top. Booch, first of all, welcome to the Male Soap Opera Moment, the wrestling podcast, videocast for the fan of any degree, such as me, a guy who watches Monday Night Raw like twice a month, but somehow come out on top here in Wenz world. So let's go through said results. But first, again, welcome to the show, Damascus Dez and Vinity Kennedy Bucci.
Yes. First of all, let me just say two things. One, yes, Wenz does have a lot to celebrate about. He did, in fact, win back the prediction title by the grace of Dirty Dom. He won the title. That is, that's the person he needs to thank above anybody else. Also, I do have one thing though that I do need to gloat about a tiny bit before we get into this, and it regards a discussion on yesterday's show. As you know, last time on the show, Desmond and I had what the fans are calling a heated debate. For us, it's a typical Friday, but to them, it's a heated debate. And basically what had happened was we were discussing the heel turn of Shinsuke Nakamura. We said that he did the Kinshasa turning on Seth after the 6-man tag with the two of them and Cody Rhodes against Judgment Day. And then we said that there was the whispering and the kick to the head happened a second time. Desmond claimed they happened on the same show. I claim they happen a week apart. And after doing my due diligence and research, if you check, it says Cody Rhodes, Seth Rollins, and Nakamura versus the Judgment Day, the 6-man tag, Raw highlights August 7th, 2023. Next, we have Seth Rollins and Shinsuke shake hands and gets Kinshasa again. Raw highlights August 14th, 2023. Told you it was a week apart. So, granted, I'd rather gloat about having two belts, but at least I get to gloat about something. So, that being said, we can get on with Payback.
Yep. Blame it on the ADHD.
Well, you know what? Nobody gets it right all the time. Just some of us get it right the last time, which is me. So, Booch, again, you spend more time gloating about not even winning than I did about winning. Desmond, do you see what kind of the difference of champion you have here in Wenz world between Booch and yours truly? I mean, just note that.
I see difference. I see a major difference. And it's that you superimpose people cheering behind you when they don't actually exist.
Are you saying these people don't exist? Are you saying
not for you?
Let me pull one over. Ma'am, can you come up? She's busy. She wanted to come over, but she had to buy a drink, And listen, I don't need to prove to you where I am or who's behind me. After all, I am the prediction champion. And let's go back, gentlemen and ladies, if you're watching and listening, and go through said results. Booch, you brought up, and I think you mispronounced his name. It's actually Shinsuke Nakamura, and I think you accidentally said Nakamoran. I don't know, maybe it was an error.
Freudian slip, whatever you want to call it.
I don't know about your relationship with his mother. I don't need to know about that. That's something that's beyond Dirty Dom here in Wenz world. So we're not going to go there. But we are going to go to the match that took place between Seth Rollins and Shinsuke Nakamura. All three of us predicted Rollins to retain, and retain he did. Good match, though. Am I right or am I right?
Oh, a damn good match. And much to my my excitement, they are continuing this feud. It's not over. They did show, it was like Nakamura went and attacked him again. This match, this rivalry is not over, which is good because I honestly believe Shinsuke should be the one to take the belt off of Seth.
Yeah, Booch vehemently disagrees with that. I can tell. The chair is moving.
I don't disagree. I agree the match was great. Do I agree that I want Nakamura to take the belt? No, but I do agree the match was fantastic, and I loved it because it had something that you don't normally see in a Nakamura match, and that is psychology. Thank God. They told the story the proper way because the entire match, the focal point was Seth Rollins' back. Moments where, like, when he forced him against the ropes and kind of like tap his back a little bit to play mind games. Every major move Nakamura did was affecting the back. And even the commentators pointed this out, which helped the storytelling amazingly. When anytime Nakamura would go for a cover and Seth would kick out, and you're like, yeah, he was obviously going to kick out of that. The commentators reminded us that when a wrestler kicks out of a move, any move, it requires the use of your back and emphasis on the back to kick out. So even when Nakamura goes for quick covers, Seth is still putting stress and wear and tear on his back just by simply kicking out of whatever move Nakamura does, whether it's a Kinshasa or a simple clothesline. Like, the kick out helped too. So you notice Seth is hurting throughout the entire match. So when he finally makes the comeback and hits the stop for the 1, 2, 3, it makes the win that much better. So the storytelling all around and the psychology and the focus on the back is what made the match great. Nakamura told a story and didn't rely on strong style to do anything.
Strong style. In case you missed that, he meant to say strong style. Again, there's something wrong with
Vinny's. I thought he was talking about strong style. I thought he was bringing Rikichi into this or something.
Hey.
They say he's coming back.
Speaking of things that you will only hear in Wenz world, that was the first match, right? And then we saw Becky Lynch win the steel cage match against Trish Stratus. Exciting times again. I believe that I picked the ginger. Booch, you picked the ginger. Dez, you picked the ginger. Not Zach, but this ginger.
Yes.
Okay. It's cool.
Look,
thoughts on
Zach's
this
mom
match?
didn't choose Zach. All right.
The what?
Ow!
Wait, what did he say?
He said Zach's mom didn't even choose Zach. Oh, that's harsh.
I don't know if that'll make the show. I might forget to edit it, so I don't know.
Oh my God.
Either way, what's said in Wenz world never stays in Wenz world.
Oh, Zach's gonna be pissed when he sees it.
Yeah, we all choose Becky. This was there was no way in hell. I will say this: I was a little shocked to see Trish turn on to see Trish turn on Zoe, and then Zoe to hit that Z360, and I was very pleasantly surprised because Zoe deserves to make it on her own accord. So this was a good moment. She got her little boost by having Trish with her and put her to the main event, and now she can do things on her own. I think we'll see good things from this.
Agreed. And ultimately, this match was to boost Zoe Stark. I mean, let's look at it. Let's see who the real winner is. Like you said, that was the highlight to you, was pushing her.
It's one of those deals where Becky, she's already reached the top of the mountain.
Yep.
Beating Trish is just another accolade to add to her list at this point, and that's not a bad thing. You know, Becky needs a way to keep moving up, and I see that, and I understand that. But it's also about bringing up the younger stars, and Zoe is the next generation.
Indeed.
Yes.
Booch, your thoughts on this match?
Loved it. It was brutal. It was violent. And I remember there was the superplex, the vertical plex off the cage, I thought was fantastic. Just the violence of this match. They allowed these women to really go at it. And of course, there are some people that are disappointed that because it was a cage match, there's no blood, but it's WWE. So I don't expect blood in the match. It's great if there's there, but you know, you're just not going to see it. Some people are disappointed by it.
I don't think a cage match needs blood. I think blood to me should be for Extreme Rules matches or Last Man Standing. I quit. Something crazy.
Exactly.
A cage match is about keeping people locked together and keeping other people out. That's what it's meant to be.
Which I agree. As long as you're not, as long as you're not grinding their face against the cage, because then you got to have some blood there. But as long as you don't do that, I think you're fine. But overall, I love the match. And what's also great about Zoe finally breaking away from Trish is it gives us even though this was technically supposed to be the final match, the final battle, we now know for sure it's done because now Trish can move on with Zoe. And from the backstage segment and from what was said on NXT this past Tuesday, Becky Lynch had that altercation backstage with Tiffany Stratton, who is the NXT Women's Champion and one of the top heels in that locker room. Her gimmick is fantastic. And they have now established that this coming Tuesday, Becky is facing Tiffany Stratton for the NXT Women's Championship. So we're going to find out if Becky can finally win that title. I'm a little irked about it because NXT has their own pay-per-view at the end of the month, and I don't like seeing big matches like this on free TV. It's my biggest pet peeve with modern wrestling, but hopefully this leads to something for the pay-per-view because Becky winning, I think, would motivate more people to get No Mercy.
It would be really easy for like Becky to win, but by count out or disqualification or something, which would allow for the pay-per-view match to be a bigger match.
Exactly. If they do that route, I'm all for it. But that, like I said, I'm always worried about that because it's like I can understand that the next takeover was like 3 months from now, but like literally it's September 30th. Like, don't I want Becky to win, but not on free TV. Have her take it at the pay-per-view and do something on Tuesday to build to it to get more people to watch.
The only thing I'm afraid of is they having Becky win it on free TV just to lose it back at the pay-per-view because they don't want Becky to stay on in NXT.
And I've heard rumors about that, so I'm scared.
Rumors, dark webs, dark sheets. Oh gosh, I don't know. Check your websites and your IPs and your routers and all things IoT. All right, here in Wenz World, we don't get into tech because we get into wrestling and the tech of wrestling, the technicalities of wrestling, the technical wrestlers like LA Knight, who
did you just call LA Knight a technical wrestler?
He's technically a wrestler. He's technically a wrestler, Desmond. I don't understand how you don't understand that. He can do some moves. He's a
brawler and a damn good brawler.
He's not from Brooklyn though, so there's that. But he did beat up on Miz's I was going to say Booch's arch nemesis, the Miz. But if it was the Booch in the ring, he beat up on the Miz's arch nemesis, the Booch. So in this case, Booch was not wrestling the technically a wrestler LA Knight, but the Miz was, and the Miz lost, and we all saw it coming. But Booch, I bet you got a chub when the final result happened here, and the Miz lost.
Yes, and although I knew something weird, although I did get scared when Cena became the guest referee, because now I'm thinking something's gonna happen, and now Miz is gonna win this, and I'm gonna be pissed. But thankfully, that wasn't the case, And then I love the fact about John Cena that he called it down the middle. Like when the Miz was going too far, he pulled the Miz off. They had an altercation, and then he even took care of LA Knight when he wouldn't stop stomping on him. And then they had that face-to-face, like LA Knight wanted to bow up to Cena, and Cena's just staring him down. And Dez and I caught this while they're trash talking. At one point, Cena looked at him and said, "You ain't ready. You ain't about this life." We're like, oh shit. Like, I think they're building to Cena versus LA Knight at some point. And you can tell they're planting seeds because that'll be a moneymaker. It has to be on the big four, but that's a moneymaker.
All right. So I'm going to disagree with you on that. I think it ended at the top of the ramp when Cena raised his arm. It was kind of like a moment where he christened him, and he's like, I'm moving out of the situation. This was a stepping stone, like we said. LA Knight beating the Miz was a stepping stone, and then him being kind of knighted by John Cena at the top of the ramp was the last part of that. I don't think we're going to see that match.
At the top of the ramp, it was interesting. If you listen carefully, LA Knight tells Cena, once it says Cena, it's like you got involved in the match, and Cena said you won clean, and he's like, all right, you're right, I did. And they shook hands, and that was it.
Yeah, I don't think there was anything more to it. It would be cool if there was, but I don't know. By then, the Hollywood strike will be over, and John will be back to making movies that nobody watches. But yeah, this match, we all saw that coming. LA Knight getting the dub. Fairness,
he was in the Barbie movie, which is one of the top 3 movies of the year.
Yeah, but you gotta love how he got roasted for being in the Barbie movie. That was great. That was a great
A guy who would have sold his soul to be in that Barbie movie.
Sure. I haven't seen the movie, so I don't know. I can't say one way or the other how it was, but we did see Rey Mysterio beat Austin Theory, and there was so much to this match. I liked this match. We all knew how it was gonna end. Well, some of us did. But explain yourself. Each of you.
I died of boredom during this match.
It was a good match. What are you talking about?
It was good, but like I said, it was a match. They did what they had to do, but it was one of those matches where you knew Ray was going to win, and you also knew if he didn't win, it would have been anticlimactic because, like I said, Theory does nothing with that title. The guy, like I said, he's a guy that they tried giving him the ball. He fumbled it drastically, and he's basically mid. Like, putting the U.S. title back on him would not do anything. You don't get a pardon from the governor and then strap the guy back in the chair. You know what I'm saying? The U.S. title is trying to get to a better place. And do I think Ray is the ultimate place? Not really, but better than Austin Theory. So I know Theory will get better with time, but he's not ready. Yeah. And he's not doing anything to progress.
Right now, Theory is in a good position. He doesn't need a championship. He is a decent talker. He is really good in the ring. I mean, I'll give him all the credit in the world. He's got the talent. Now he needs to find himself. And that's going to be the key. If he can find himself and make himself important to people watching, it's like, when did Drew McIntyre become great? When he got rid of that chosen one bullshit. He became great on his own accord away from that. And Theory needs to learn that lesson and get away from the chosen one bullshit.
I like that. That's great insight, Damascus Des. Yeah. And Booch, I agree with you. I don't think the ultimate destination is Mysterio, but he's a great ambassador in the meantime.
Yes.
And maybe over time, I agree with you, Des. I think Theory can do it. He just has to find a nuance to his character. He has to make people care. He has to make people hate him more. Like, be a more believable heel. I want some more backstage attacks.
I liked him better. I liked him better when he was carrying the phone around, taking selfies with the
that was great. That was a great gimmick. It was perfect.
And they took away that thing that made it himself. At that point, he was the entitled millennial, which was brilliant. That is exactly the role he needed to play, because that right there made people hate him.
What they need to do is take those plants in the front row, especially the green shirt guy, have somebody pull out like a cell phone. Theory takes a selfie, drops the cell phone, stomps on it like it's a bit, to where and the fan's like, what the heck, dude? And he's like, I don't care about you. And then keeps going. Like, have that be part of that entitled millennial, like, a fan's like trying to take a selfie. He's like, oh, okay. So he takes a selfie instead. It's like, oh, pretends to hand him the phone back, or her the phone back, drops it, stomps
into the beer.
Yeah, or something like that. Whereas John Cena would sip the beer, he can just like put the phone in the beer, which would be perfect for a heel.
That could be one thing. Or if you want to go a different route, he can do something like where it looks like he's gonna take the selfie, but then like at the last second he like steps out of the frame and there's nobody in the picture. Like, I think that would work. Like, if you want to do that with actual fans, that way you don't mess with their phone, because you have to have a plant through the phone thing, of course. But if you can't find a plant, just have something where it looks like he's gonna take a picture, and then right before the guy snaps it, you just kind of walk off. And then
so it's just him, just the fan.
and then while he's walking away, he just goes, meh, like, who needs you? Or like do some kind of taunt and then walk up the ring.
It's phenomenal. There are ways to make it's like, well, what he is doing right now is so generic. Like I said, why I liked him when he first started was because he had that selfie bit. He had a thing. It was a believable reason to hate him. And right now he's just, oh, I'm some guy who's trying to be the best, and like, that's everybody. That's generic. That's boring.
Exactly.
Give me something.
I like it. Rhea Ripley and Raquel Rodriguez gave us something on Saturday.
Oh, yeah.
What a great match. As I predicted, I said could be the match of the night. And dare I say, pending and barring the last match that we'll discuss here, which was the Tide Turner in Wenz World, this match between Rhea and Raquel, Perfect. Perfect. We all knew how it was going to land. It was a great outcome. We all knew how it was going to go. I don't have any complaints about this match. If anything, I wish it had lasted longer. But
they has fight. Best way I can describe that. That was a violent freaking. These were two women trying to kill each other, and it was also very violent. And there were so many times where it felt like Des and I were watching a horror movie, because there would be these bumps or these slams, like even into the ring post, like on the table, and you're just like, oh my God, what the hell is that? Like, how are they not dead? Like, and the thing is, you could tell if you have an analyst mind, you can tell there was safety involved in those bumps, but they still hurt like a son of a bitch.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, it's one of those deals where it's like, okay, they found a safe way to do this, but you're sitting there like, where is it?
Yes, you can't find it.
It's one of those, it's like, yeah, Jeff Hardy did the swanton off the 30-foot rafters. We know they were landing on fucking styrofoam and shit like that, but he still landed on Randy Orton from a 30-foot rafter. I mean, there's only so much safety involved.
Exactly.
True. And like you said, they just put it all on the line, and they also sold Rodriguez as believable, because there were so many times where she could have won the match, right?
The entire match, Rodriguez was dominating.
Yeah, that's the thing.
I mean, she was overpowering Rhea consistently, and it was only due to a distraction from Dominic, which allowed Rhea to hit that great move of hers, the Riptide. And she hits the move, end of the match.
Yep.
It was good. It was good. It allows for more story to be built from them, and I do believe that eventually they have reason to put the belt on Rodriguez, because she was so powerful, so dominant in this match.
Yeah, no doubt. And she can go. She's taller than Rhea Ripley. She's like a believable beast. Like, it's not like, John Cena looking up to, whoever. It's like a toe for toe.
John Cena's feats of strength proved themselves.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. That's a good point. But you talked about some outside interference from Dirty Dom, but Damian and Finn needed every bit of assistance. They needed every bit of it, but it was the perfect move. And this is what the Wenz foresaw, and why the crowds are still here. There's some video interference, as you'll see the blips in the background. I can't explain that, but what I can explain, ladies and gentlemen, is how this tag team is now lending this faction gold. Everybody in this faction is parading something worthwhile, and that just validates that this faction is not going anywhere anytime soon. And the longer the build, the better. Keep the seeds of dissension between Balor and Priest. Keep it there. Build on it from time to time, and then pop it like a pimple, and it'll be one of those great middle school ones that you get it all right before the dance. Like that's what they need to do with this storyline, and it's so damn believable. And there's such a great heel faction where everybody can come in and F it up for the other teams. It's a beautiful thing. They won the undisputed tag team titles against KO and Sami Zayn. I was the only one here in Wenz World that was bold enough to predict this. And this was the difference. This was the difference. And when this match happened, Booch, for some reason, maybe your phone went dead. You just stopped texting me randomly. I don't know what happened. Maybe you got sick of all my texts. But I was blowing up Booch's phone, and he just would not respond.
I was too busy saying certain words that I was glad my niece was not in the room when I said them, because I was a little on the not PG side of things. I may or may not have thrown my hat across the room and after the finish. I was unpleasantly surprised is the better way to put it, that there wasn't a Twitch stream of that moment, or somebody capturing that, because that would be great video to run. Yes. Well,
under this.
We only streamed for the big four, so otherwise it would have been a highlight. Like if we still had the Royal Rumble 2020 video, someone would have clipped the finish of the Women's Royal Rumble match, because I had the ugliest meltdown when that happened.
Well, This match to me had everything that a tag team title match should have. It had the interference. It had the so many believable falls that were just like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, it almost happened. And look, Sammy and KO could have won this match, could have won this match so many times. But again, that's what made it so great. Des, what say you?
This match was great. The only thing that bothers me about it is we do know eventually they are going to want to break up Finn Balor and Priest. We know this. This is not. So it's one of those setup things where I'm afraid that they will either pull the trigger too soon after they win the championship, and we'll have another a moment like we did with Shayna Baszler and Ronda Rousey, where it's just like, well, that was anticlimactic, or the focus is going to go to that world title because he is Senior Money in the Bank, and the tag team championships are going to get left on the sidelines. There are so many problems with the Judgment Day having the tag team belt. Otherwise, if it wasn't for them sowing those seeds of dissent, I would love this. Judgment Day is top tier faction right now, and I'm loving that. But with what's going on, with how the story has been built so far, I feel like this is a bad move with WWE. And maybe they'll prove me wrong. Maybe they can do it all. But creative has not given me reason to have that kind of faith in them. I'm hoping I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong, but I don't see it happening.
Booch, you're chomping at the bit. What say you?
It was a violent match. It lived up to its battle. There was a street fight. I found out later that, and they mentioned in the show, that a lot of the violence was they were trying to pay tribute to Terry Funk, who passed away a while not too long ago. And so and Terry Funk was known for hardcore and violence and things like that. So that's where a lot of the kendo sticks and a lot of the violent moments were coming from. They really wanted to pay tribute to him in this Steel City street fight. I saw Kevin Owens get color, which kept me intrigued because, again, you don't know what's happening. And I was surprised because I noticed he was bleeding when him and Sammy popped up from behind that camera area. So now it's got me thinking, was he busted open hard way, or did he blade behind that machine? Because WWE is strictly against blading, which for any new people out there, I'll give a moment to explain what that is. When a wrestler bleeds in a match, there are two ways to do it. One is hard way, where you just slam a guy's head into something really hard and the blood comes dripping. That's usually accidental, or it's planned, depending on who the wrestler is and they trust them. Blading is when they would take like a razor blade and they either hide them like in a piece of tape, some hide them underneath their tongue. Those are psychos. And they take the blade, and when no one's looking and the camera is not on them, some cameraman fucked this up. That's why they don't have jobs. They will take a little cut across their forehead to get a little blood flowing. And then when the guy comes over and starts punching and punching and punching him, the blood comes out even more. And that's how the wrestlers bleed. So a lot of people think it's ketchup or capsules. No, they would blade to get real blood dripping down their face. And that's how they would create the illusion of, this guy hit me so hard I bled. But WWE has banned blading because not only to ban blood, blading is a no-no. Other companies still do it. WWE not so much. So I'm wondering, did he blade behind that barricade, or was he busted open hard way before he got thrown over? So I'm wondering, how do you come back up with blood that quickly? Because there's no way you hit the ground that hard when they threw you over that thing. Y'all know how to fall. So that's what kept my attention.
There are people like Brock Lesnar, for example, who are very good at busting people open without hurting them. Brock Lesnar can use his forearm in a way to drag it across your skull, drag it across your forehead, and make you bleed. He knows what he's doing. He's done it. He did it against Cena. He did it against, I believe, did he do it against Orton?
Yes. Him and Jericho had a backstage altercation because he thought Brock was going into business for himself with that. He didn't know that him and Orton had talked it out.
Right. So he had multiple occasions where he proved that he can do it, and he can do it well. And that's how most of the time it is done, especially in WWE. Now, on occasion, you will see somebody, they'll catch somebody who blades, and there's a fine, and they get in trouble, yelled at, and blah, 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 blah. But it's one of those, a lot of times they feel better about asking for forgiveness than permission kind of deals.
Story of mankind, right? Yep.
Very Triple H and DX.
Rock, Cena, they all had to get that. But the thing is, when you do the forgiveness then permission thing, it's this. You got to make sure if you're gonna go off script, if you're gonna do something against the rules,
Better work.
you got to get it over.
Yeah.
Because if it gets over with the crowd and they love it, then you'll get the fine or the slap on the wrist and don't do that again. But if you go off and you bomb, that's your job. Your job and
that's suspension. That is bare minimum a suspension. Yeah.
Speaking
your
of,
job until the end of your contract.
This is a great segue. You know the results. I just won by one match. Listen, Booch, how many weeks away are we from the next one here?
Not too long. I think it's October 7th. I think it's Fastlane.
Okay, so less than a month away from Fastlane.
Less than a month, yeah.
Woo! All right. We could see. Listen, we could see one of these titles shift. You never know. We could see I could see the United States Championship moving at Fastlane. I could see that belt moving at Fastlane. I don't see Rollins losing this early, but that could change. And maybe they do make a push for Ripley losing to Rodriguez at Fastlane if they choose to have her defend. I don't know. It's believable enough. But one thing that before we get to our out here, one thing I want to get y'all's insights on is Seth Rollins' reaction to CM Punk being released by AEW. And do you think there's a possibility that CM Punk returns to WWE?
All right. I don't know. What was Seth Rollins' reaction? I missed this.
He called him a lot of bad words. He said he's a total a-hole and nobody likes him and he's glad that he got fired.
Well, first off, everybody agrees that he's a bit of an asshole. He's a loner. Nobody's disagreeing about that. CM Punk isn't disagreeing about that. Okay. But a lot of people say he is a very professional person to work with most of the time. If you are professional with him, he will be professional with you. He was professional with Undertaker, even though he didn't want to lose to him. He was professional with John Cena. He was a professional with Kane. He was professional with a lot of fucking people. He is willing to do business. He is a businessman first. And that is something that WWE will take an advantage. As you asked about the possibility of his return. Here are the key things here. The people it's going to come down to is Triple H, Nick Khan, and Vince McMahon. Those are your three big names right now. Yes, we know Endeavor is finalizing the takeover this month. It's officially going to be finalized 100%, taken over this month. But right now, that is the three people he needs to worry about. Nick Khan is a straight businessman, and Nick Khan, it depends on I don't know how much he's dealt with CM Punk himself. I do know that if he's only basing it on how CM Punk has acted with AEW, that's going to be bad on CM Punk, and there's no way to look at it. Triple H, on the other hand, they obviously had heat, but when CM Punk did that little visit to WWE a few months ago, they shook hands. They were polite to each other, and they let bygones be bygones. The only reason CM Punk was asked to leave is because he was still under AEW contract, and that came from Vince McMahon. Now, the question then lies is, how does Vince McMahon look at this? And I think Vince McMahon sees money. I really do. In the end, I think Triple H and Vince McMahon are willing to work with him. So it's going to come down to how much money can they make out of it and what kind of a deal are they going to go with. But I think that there is a good chance we will see CM Punk come back at least for a short run.
Isn't this the perfect guy to rival Seth Rollins right now? Like that would be the perfect, because you already have Cody doing his thing on the other side of the aisle.
LA Knight.
Yeah. Or listen, he could beef with LA Knight. That's fine too. But I think it's going to take, I think if CM Punk came back, he would be elevated right back to the top above LA Knight. I mean, can we,
well, right now, LA Knight is considered the top babyface in SmackDown. He is being treated as the top babyface in SmackDown.
Right.
Yeah.
But does LA Knight have anything around his shoulder right now?
Doesn't
You know what I'm
matter.
saying? Like, I think CM Punk would return under the understanding that I want to be champion within 3 months or whatever. And these are the terms, right? Because I think he could dictate his future. I think he could go to the table with all three of them, with Paul,
Well,
Tony, and Vince, and say,
here's the
hey,
problem.
yep.
Here's the problem with that concept. He could, he can dictate the terms of his return, but if his term doesn't match their vision, he's proven that he can be a liability, and they might just say, "Okay, well, it was nice seeing you. Good luck in your future endeavors," and not work with him. They have to determine if his demands are worth their risk of bringing him back.
I'd like to see him back. I'm kind of up for a shakeup. Like I'd be cool with. I would be okay with, Cody and him beefing. That would be cool.
I mean,
I see your shirt. I get it. Like that's one of the reasons I brought it up. But I think it's a thing that a lot of fans are thinking about right now. And listen,
and Survivor Series is in Chicago.
I mean, listen, that's somebody's hometown. So that could be the next big thing. That could be the comeback. And if they do it, they have to be so secretive and get beyond all of the things.
I read something online that I thought would be hilarious. They said what they should do is they should have CM Punk show up to Survivor Series, but not as a wrestler. Just have him sitting in the front row, or I think sitting, a few seats away from some of the usual guys, like green shirt guy, right? But never mention it. Like, have the announcer specifically, you're not allowed to mention it. Catch him on camera, but you're not allowed to talk about it.
Right. Or have him up in a box, just eating popcorn or something.
And then when they ask Triple H about it on the after show, thing, Triple H says he showed up as a fan. He paid for his ticket like everyone else.
He'd be like, he paid $5,000 to sit there and watch this. I don't know why, but maybe we'll find out.
And then you have him show up on SmackDown or Raw, and then
maybe
right, have him show up as a fan for a while. Like he bought a box. All right, we got to find out why CM Punk is here. Like, why are you here? And he'd be like, listen, I'm a fan of WWE. I never stopped being a fan. The problem is business always gets in the way. But now I'm back. I'm back in business and I'm ready to sign. Where's my deal? Something like that, where it's like and then you have the Raw GM like, I don't know. He's on the phone with H like, So they could shake it up like that. Have him pull like a Sting in the rafters thing, where you're just always you find him in the arena, and then you pan away. It's like he's there, he's there. Yeah, and that's great rogue marketing. And that's all they need to do with him. You don't even have to have a big splash with him, because people know who he is. They know he's not going to go back to the indies. Once you're CM Punk and you've been to the top, you're not going to go back to wrestling in elementary schools on the weekends. This is not going to happen. So I could foresee him returning maybe sooner than later. I mean, listen, you might see him in the next couple weeks on Raw or SmackDown. Wouldn't that be something?
With his age, it will have to be on the sooner. He is getting out.
Is he still married to AJ?
Yes.
Okay. That'd be cool if she could come back too. Maybe it's a package deal.
Maybe. I don't know how. It depends on how she feels.
I think she's retired and happy with acting.
There you go. Safer.
Yeah.
Less bumps.
Yeah. And ultimately, what this is going to come, like as Des said, what's going to come down to is business and money. Because at the end of the day, that's what Punk wants to do. And like I said, if you're willing to do business, he's willing to do business. And like I said, if he does come back, I definitely see Rollins being the opponent. Even though the comment that Seth Rollins made was not after Punk was fired, it was from the incident last year.
Oh, my mistake.
Yeah. So it wasn't after he was fired. People just replayed that after he got fired. But so anyway, and with Seth's attitude and his delivery, it's hard to tell if he actually means what he says or if he's just working. And
is that Seth or Colby? Yeah. Which
Seth
one is
or Colby
it? Yep.
Talking, because I know Seth, he's gonna say that stuff again because they want to make money, and that's what's great about. That's what separates WWE from the place that Punk was working at before. Is they'll see shit like this and turn it into a match to make money because both sides can put their egos aside to make money, and we've seen it before. The best proof of that is Matt Hardy and Edge. When
John Cena and The Rock.
Yes. Edge, I'm saying Edge for a shoot slept with Matt Hardy's girlfriend. That whole thing was a shoot, but they turned it into a storyline and did it in a way that was believable, where we thought Matt was actually sneaking backstage or jumping the barricade to kill Edge before we finally, and it wasn't until a long time later we found out it was a storyline. Now, granted, when they worked the match, they were a little stiff with each other. There was some stiff shots thrown, but they didn't injure each other. They didn't take liberties. They worked. And that is why I have all the faith in the world when Punk comes back, he's willing to do business. And I think they could build that too, because depending on how long the non-compete clause is, because depending on the termination,
there isn't one.
If there isn't one, then Survivor Series would be a good place to at least bring him back. If he doesn't have one, you got to wait it out. But what I would do is I would plant seeds at Survivor Series, and you have CM Punk versus Seth Rollins for the world title, WrestleMania 40, and you have Punk take it there. Because by then, Seth's been champ for so long, if Punk dethrones him, it won't upset anybody.
Right.
And there you go. You have a money-making match on your biggest stage.
Here's the issue. That is assuming that they sign him for an automatic multi-year deal immediately. From what I've been reading, the smart move with Endeavor right now is not to sign him for a long-term deal, but for a short-term deal. Basically, they would want to sign him from Survivor Series to WrestleMania as a precursor and say, if you do good here, then we can re-sign you for something a little longer.
A prove-it deal. Yep.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I would like to believe that by the time they get to Mania, they would know. I think you would know if you're going to re-sign him or not.
But you
That's why I'm saying you can have him take the title there.
But you don't want to book it. But you don't want to book it that, because let's be real here. You're wanting to make Mania plans. You want to sow the seeds of them months in advance, and you don't want to take that kind of a risk on the prove-it deal in the middle of it. And then if you start building the story, and then something does happen. You see what I'm saying?
No, I see what you're saying. Definitely, I see where you're coming from. I'm just saying.
So, and like I said, I love Punk, but he has proven to not be able to take some bullshit here recently. In
his defense, he's had to take a lot of it, and not just from altercations. Like, you got to tell, this is a company that he was supposed to have a meeting with the other three guys that he had an issue with to bury the hatchet in Atlanta. They canceled the meeting at the last minute. Not only that, he flies to England. There's no one there to pick him up. No transportation contact info. He had to take the goddamn subway because no one would pick him up to get him to the building. By the grace of God, he shows up on time, and Jackoff Perry starts some shit. At that point, I'm surprised he didn't. I would have been shocked if he didn't knock somebody out. So I'm just saying, there was a fuck around and find out moment, and there were a few fuck arounds that they got for free before the found out happened.
Right. And I agreed with you on almost all of it, that there was a lot of bullshit that led up to stuff. But in the end, and a lot of people said that Perry started this fight, actually, the physical part of it. So, I mean, there's a lot of shit that went down. But in the end, there were two big backstage fights in AEW in the last year, and Punk was the only contributing factor to both of them.
Yeah. There was definitely a conspiracy, but you're right.
Yeah, and that's the question. Can he overcome his past and make WWE and himself believe that he can do better? And time will tell. I'm so glad I asked that question. And we will reconvene here, definitely before Fastlane with our predictions. But in the meantime, you will never, ever leave Wenz World without hearing a couple key phrases, plus one, including, have a nice day.
Bang, bang.
Suck it.